The terminal was already humming with early morning tension. Rolling suitcases rattled across polished floors. Boarding announcements echoed overhead. Coffee cups steamed in tired hands. It was 6:18 a.m. at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, and the morning rush had begun. That was when Officer Mark Reynolds noticed her. She stood near the TSA PreCheck entrance, dressed in a charcoal blazer, dark slacks, and low black heels. A leather carry-on rested beside her. A slim laptop bag hung from her shoulder. Calm, still, watching the departure board like someone who knew exactly where she was going. Reynolds frowned. He'd worked in airport security for 12 years. You developed instincts in a place like this. You learned who belonged and who didn't. At least that's what he told himself. And to him, something about her didn't fit. He adjusted his belt and nudged his partner. "You see her?" he muttered. Officer Trent Walsh followed his gaze. "Who?" "The black woman by PreCheck. Been standing there too long." Walsh shrugged. "Maybe she's waiting." Reynolds shook his head slowly. "Nah, people who belong don't linger." That sentence, "people who belong don't linger," would later be quoted in court transcripts. At the time, it felt like common sense. Before we continue with the story, tell me where you're watching from in the comments section. And if this is your first time on this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. Reynolds stepped forward. "Ma'am," he said sharply, "can I help you with something?" She turned toward him, composed, polite. "Yes," she said, "I'm waiting for clearance." Reynolds' jaw tightened. "Clearance for what?" "For access." "To where?" "Past this checkpoint." Reynolds scoffed. "That's not how it works. You need a boarding pass." "I have one." "Then show it." She reached into her bag calmly. Before she could pull anything out, Reynolds raised a hand. "No, stop, don't reach." Her hand froze. "I'm getting my boarding pass," she said evenly. "You were instructed not to move." Her eyes lifted to his, steady, unafraid, observant. "I'm complying," she said. "You asked for—" "Turn around," Reynolds snapped. Nearby travelers slowed. A woman stopped mid-sip of coffee. A businessman lowered his phone. "I haven't done anything wrong," she said. Reynolds stepped closer, his voice dropping into authority. "Failure to comply with airport security is a federal offense." Walsh moved in beside him now. "Hands behind your back." "What?" she asked, genuinely startled. Reynolds grabbed her arm. Phones came out. "Sir," she said firmly, "you're making a mistake." Reynolds twisted her wrist and pulled her away from the checkpoint. "Don't resist." "I'm not resisting." But her bag slipped, hitting the floor. The laptop inside thudded. A TSA supervisor rushed forward. "What's going on?" "She's refusing to present credentials," Reynolds barked. "That's not true," she said, her voice raised now. "I was reaching for—" Reynolds cut her off. "You don't get to argue here." They pulled her to a side corridor marked "Authorized Personnel Only." Passengers stared as a professionally dressed black woman was marched away like a criminal. No shouting, no screaming, just dignity under pressure. The detention room was cold, windowless, a metal table bolted to the floor. Reynolds uncuffed her with unnecessary force. "Sit." She sat. "Name?" he demanded. "Danielle Brooks." "ID." She slid her driver's license across the table. Reynolds studied it, eyebrows knitting. "You live in D.C.? "Yes." "And you're flying out of Atlanta?" "Yes." "For what purpose?" "Work." "What kind of work?" "Federal." Everyone's federal now. She didn't smile. Walsh leaned against the wall. "You TSA?" "No." "Contractor?" "No." "Then why are you acting entitled?" She looked up slowly. I'm not acting entitled. I'm acting calm. Reynolds' radio crackled. Mark, what's the holdup? We're backing up PreCheck. Possible impersonation. Of who? Reynolds glanced at Danielle. Federal personnel. There was a pause on the line. Say again? She claims she has clearance. I do have clearance, Danielle said quietly. Reynolds slammed his palm on the table. You don't get to talk right now. She inhaled slowly. Exhaled. Officer, she said, you are detaining the wrong person. Reynolds leaned in. You people always say that. That sentence was also recorded. Danielle Brooks wasn't just flying for work. She was flying on orders. At 9 a.m. that morning, she was scheduled to lead a multi-agency federal oversight review at the Atlanta field office, a closed-door audit involving TSA, DHS, and airport security leadership. She was the newly appointed Deputy Director of Internal Compliance for the Department of Homeland Security, and no one at the airport had been briefed yet. Her phone buzzed in her bag on the floor. Reynolds ignored it. Buzz again. Ignored. Third buzz. Walsh frowned. Should we? No, Reynolds snapped. She can wait. Danielle finally spoke. I need to answer that. You'll answer when we're done. The phone stopped buzzing. Then the room phone rang. Reynolds picked it up. Airport security? Silence. Then a voice, tight and controlled. This is Special Agent Karen Holt, Department of Homeland Security. Why is Deputy Director Danielle Brooks not answering her phone? Reynolds went still. Excuse me? I will repeat. Why is my superior being detained in your facility? Reynolds' face drained of color. Walsh straightened. You have the wrong person, Reynolds said quickly. No, you have exactly the right person, and she is not answering because you have unlawfully detained her. Reynolds swallowed. How do you know where she is? Because her device location stopped moving inside your airport. The line went dead. 30 seconds later, 6 federal agents entered the terminal. Badges visible, jackets unzipped. Passengers gasped as they moved with purpose. The detention room's door swung open. Agent Holt stepped in. Her eyes went straight to Danielle. Ma'am, she said respectfully, are you all right? Danielle stood. I am now. Holt turned slowly to Reynolds. Officer, she said, step away from her. Reynolds' voice cracked. There's been a misunderstanding. Holt smiled thinly. Yes, she said, there has. Within minutes, airport leadership arrived. So did TSA supervisors. So did DHS legal counsel. Danielle Brooks didn't yell. She didn't threaten. She simply stated facts. I was detained without cause. I was denied access to present credentials. I was physically restrained. I was delayed from a federal assignment. Reynolds tried to explain. I followed protocol. Holt cut him off. No, she said, you followed prejudice. Security footage played. The lingering, the assumption, the grab, every frame damning. Danielle was escorted, not walked, through the terminal by federal agents. Passengers whispered, phones recorded. Reynolds stood frozen as his world collapsed. 6 months later, Officer Mark Reynolds no longer works as an airport security. He was terminated, charged, decertified. The airport implemented the Brooks Directive. Mandatory bias audits, independent detention review, immediate suspension for profiling. Danielle Brooks never sued. She testified. Today, she still flies early mornings, still stands calmly, still waits. And every time an officer hesitates before making assumptions, that hesitation is her legacy. Sometimes the most dangerous mistake you can make is assuming the quiet woman in the room has no power. Because sometimes she's the reason federal agents are already on their way. Thanks for watching. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories like this.